Meet me. Welcome back, boys, to another squirrely review. Today we're going to be talking about Conqueror Lilias. If you follow my channel, you kind of know my thoughts on her already, but you guys know the drill, you know the format by now. We're going to go over her skills, her builds, a quick little showcase, and then we'll summarize her overall rating. Let's get started. Alright, let's review these crazy abilities. So the S1 is fairly straightforward, but also very strong. If you have regular Lilias, you know this already. It's pretty much exactly the same. Attacks the enemy with a sword, and it triggers a dual attack from a random ally. Now, with that said, because it's random, generally ML Lilias works best in offensive comps, where you have a high chance of bringing like an S10A or a Landy, something that does serious damage. If you pair her with something like Fallen Cecilia and a Soul Weaver and 1 DPS, that means you have like a 1 in 3 chance of bringing something good. So I would say generally it's best to run her quite offensively. Her S2 distracts the enemy, decreases combat readiness by 25%, with a 100% chance after Molas to inflict redirected provoke to the enemy. So redirected provoke means they'll attack whoever is on your team with the highest HP. And it also grants a barrier to both herself and her ally, and the barrier is actually quite decent. It's not huge, but it will soak up a lot of hits, even from DPSs, or maybe one hit from a DPS, rather. It also scales proportional to her max health, and a key note is the soul burn is very cheap. It's only 10 souls, and it becomes a 2-turn redirected provoke. And with how fast she is, she can actually permalock units. Like, I've seen Violets get permalocked by this. It's a 3-turn cooldown after Molas, so with her turn cycling, you can spam it. It gets pretty ridiculous. Now her S3, yet another crazy ability. It grants Vigor to all allies and herself for 2 turns. Now, Vigor is basically a baby attack buff and defense buff combined into one. And a key part here is it cannot be dispelled. It also stacks with attack buff and defense buff, so if you have those separately, it means you can build super hard hitting or super tanky units. 30% plus 50%, more than the Gab, basically. It also decreases buff duration of all enemies by 1 turn, so you could strip immunities in the beginning, and have a 100% chance to inflict decreased attack for 2 turns. Don't underestimate that. Decreased attack makes DPSs hit like wet paper napkins. It also gives her an extra turn, so that you can use it, and then either attack someone with an S1 right away if the situation calls for it, or you can lock someone down by provoking their cleanser, whatever it is, so she is very good at openers. And those are her abilities. Let's get into her builds. Alright, so how do you build ML Lilias? Well, the general rule of thumb is get her to as close to 300 speed as possible, get her to about 80 plus effectiveness, and dump as much as you can into health and defense. I actually kind of shortchanged her on speed. I could get her to probably around 310, but I really valued her defensive stats because inevitably, if they do let Conqueror Lilias through, which is rare, she is going to be the main target of their early aggression, because she's typically one of the squishier units, and she's such a big threat with the turn cycling that they usually want to kill her fast. So I sacrificed some speed on some pieces just to make sure that she had some bulk so that she could, kind of survive that initial onslaught and many times cycle into a second S3. But generally, the average Legend build is 300 speed, 80-ish effectiveness plus. Some people run a lot more, but I think it's a waste because it sucks so much away from her defensive stats. And I'd say you want at least like 16,000 HP, at least 1,200 defense, but the more the better as your gear allows. Alternatively, you could run her a lot slower, like 260, and just make her super tanky. The problem with that is you can't use her as a speed contester anymore then, and that limits her draftability. One of the biggest strengths of Conqueror Lilias is her speed allows her to be good in both bruiser and cleave matchups, but that's up to you. If you want to use her only as a bruiser, then she probably doesn't need as much initial speed. Artifacts, I really like Border Coin. Now, granted, the attack bonus doesn't help her all that much, but the speed bonus does, because you can keep in mind she can use this she can use non-attack abilities twice right off the bat, right? So basically she gets like a permanent non-dispellable speed buff at all times, which is pretty insane. Other options are things like the Zahak artifact. It's kind of similar to Border Coin in that it gives increased speed. Let's go to the artifact tab just to make it easier and discuss the artifacts that would work on her. This, I think, is pretty bad. Some people said you might be able to use it, but honestly, the majority of the buffs don't really help her. I mean, immunity is okay. Increased attack is useless. Increased defense, I guess, is kind of helpful, but not huge. Increased crit hit damage is pretty much useless. So I'd say only use this as a last resort. Border Coin, I think, is a high priority for her, but you don't have to use it, but I think it's one of the best options. This one works fine. Again, it's kind of like Border Coin, where the increased speed is a huge benefit, but the increased crit hit damage, probably not so much, because she probably won't even be built with 100% crit. Other artifacts that you can use are some common artifacts. A lot of people are actually running the event artifact, the one that gives a random buff. I actually forget what it's called, but you guys know what it is. It's from the latest event where it will randomly give ally. It's this one. It'll randomly give an ally on your team a random buff for one turn. So I have seen some people run this artifact on Conqueror Lilias as well. Other than that, I guess you could experiment with other ones, but I have to say in Legend RTA, those are the most common offenders. But I'm sure you could probably run other things on her if you want to. But overall, these are her expected stats from her builds, and those are the artifacts that I think are most viable on her currently. Let's move on to a quick showcase. Alright, I'm going to show you why ML Lilias is so good, and a big part of it is just how Vigor interacts with attack buff and allows for some absolutely bonkers damage. So first, let's push the ML Lilias back because she's going to screw everything up. Then let's get defense breaks up. Refreshing. Ooh, we didn't defense break a lot of them. Well, that's okay. Let's kill ML Lilias first. She's probably the squishiest. Okay. And then let's give Landy attack buff. And remember, this is with no stacks on Landy. Oh wait, they barely survived that. There you go. I guess that's a showcase. Let's try another one. Alright, let's try that again. That last team just straight up exploded. Looks like my ML Lilias is consistently outspeeding the other ones in Arena. That's good. Alright, we don't strip the FCC though. That's unfortunate. So the damage won't be quite as big boy this time. See what defense breaks we land here. Not bad. Now my... I don't have attack buff, so let's hit the squishiest thing, this Landy. Good, we one-shot it. Then let's get some Vigor damage out and give attack buff to Landy. Not bad. Now we have Souls. Vigor and attack buff. And it works. Awesome. Now this is a weird defense, so I think this will be amusing to just dumpster, so let's just do it. This is a speed RB, by the way, again. This is not a super high DPS RB. So let's get these defense breaks up. I'm just hoping that we gab. Good chance we won't. But we land those defense breaks and we gab. What do you guys think is going to happen here? Let's move on to the next one. Alright, we're going to do something new here and in my reviews and actually show an RTA Showcase. So this is from a match that was uploaded as part of my casual RTA, and I think it really highlights the strength of ML Lilias. So here we bring her in. The Politis is kind of annoying, but ML Lilias actually doesn't do too bad against Politis because you can actually just provoke her right after. The main risk is Abyssal Stuns, and he does get lucky and actually stuns and hits my Amelia and my Riolet. So right off the bat, this match looks really bad, right? And he starts emoting me right away. But it's not over. It's not over by a long shot because we have probably the most busted ML5 in the game. Like, I think a Ravi's probably second for me. But we're able to take out this Politis, and now it's a 4v3. But, you know, he can take out the Rimuru here, and we're going to skip ahead a little bit here. And basically, he's just going to take out Rimuru. He gets a lucky dual attack, I think. And then he brings the Politis back. So, at this point, it looks kind of bad, right? I have a stunned Riolet. He has all four of his, heroes up. And my Lilias is debuffed. But now we get to see the ML Lilias magic, and look how much damage that Riolet is doing through Aureus with that Vigor buff. So now we have a solo Riolet against an Apoc Ravi, a Violet, and an FCC. So he has damage mitigation, he has two strong damage dealers. But look, the weaken attack against a team without a cleanse is actually really strong. So don't underestimate the weaken attack, and with her speed, she can actually have 100% uptime on decrease attack because she turn cycles so hard, especially if you have it on border coin like me. My ML Lilias is basically like a 350 ML Lilias right now. Here he hits my Riolet because he has skill Nully up. He wants to burn that S3, which is smart. But yeah, I mean, really it's a DPS race here, and he has 2 DPS and I have 1. But you're going to see why ML Lilias is able to kind of completely neuter that. So here we have my Violet go. I could S3 into Apoc, but I opt to soften up this FCC first. And the thing I want to note is just how strong ML Lilias actually makes Riolet. Like, people underestimate the fact that this was a Riolet buff in a way if you can manage to get the two together. And watch this. I'm going to provoke Violet here. And watch how many turns Violet gets this entire game from this point. It's another reason why she's so good. Now watch. We have this S3 up. What do I do with it? Do I just hit the FCC? Yeah. Because I guess I wanted to wait for another round of Vigor here. But I mean, I know that I won this match because I've watched it before. I don't remember the exact proceedings of the match. But the main thing to note here is the fact that ML Lilias is making Riolet hit harder while simultaneously permanently locking down this Violet. Like, this Violet still has not gotten a turn. We get Vigor back up. So Riolet, Vigor, plus attack buff, plus Shepherd is insane. So we start getting even more damage into FCC. 8k damage into FCC. Unfortunately, we bring Amelia that time. Violet finally gets a turn, but weaken attack does nothing. He's still provoked. I think we push up ML Lilias here, yeah, because Violet's almost about to get a turn. Now watch this. It's Frenzy 3. Like, the match hasn't gone on this long. Apoc Ravi still has weaken attack. She is not able to ditch this weaken attack because I'm not hitting her. And here I'm thinking about it. I'm like, do I kill the FCC first to get rid of the mitigation, or do I just straight up go for it? But I have Vigor and attack buff, and that's a 20, one of the tankiest DPSs in the game. Boom, 6,600 on the first hit. And with Vigor up, straight up one-shots that Apoc Ravi. And I can't highlight ML Lilias' strengths any better than that, right? Just the obscene amount of damage. And look at this poor Violet. Like, he's been provoked and weaken attacked this entire game. He just can't move. So ML Lilias is actually very good against Violet as long as you have a DPS that can eventually hit him, because he literally does not get a turn. Like, watch, I'm just going to provoke him again. And he still has one turn left on his provoke, so he's just literally stuck forever. He can't ever choose to do anything, which is Now, obviously, kind of demoralizing for him not being able to play the game. But I think that is a pretty good match to show ML Lilias's power in RTA. Let's move on to the summary. Alright, as always, the wrap up. Conqueror Lilias, is she good? She's one of the most broken heroes in the game right now. She is outrageous. Of course she is good. I did a whole video complaining about her kit. So let's just go straight into her ratings and then we'll talk about it more. So arena offense, I'm going to give her an A. The team-wide vigor buff is basically like an attack buff and it stacks with attack buff, so it could result in some speedy offenses. But you really don't need her for arena offense. Arena offense is so easy, you could just about use anything, but she works perfectly fine. Arena defense, I'll give her an A-. I mean, she's still good there because she's technically a speed contester while also having like defensive and offensive value. The problem with this is I see a lot of Conqueror Lilias defenses. Mediator Cowerick shuts it down pretty hard and just makes her dead weight. That's the only real weakness, but other than that, she's pretty good. Guild Wars offense, I'm going to give her an A. She's very solid. She has the main weakness of a lot of Guild Wars heroes where it's just the fact that she could get 15%. And again, if you watch any of my content on Guild Wars, I highly recommend teams that don't have any risk of being resisted. Like if you bring this against a Landy and you're relying on her to strip the Guiding Light to win and she doesn't, you just lose, right? Other than that, she's still very powerful in Guild Wars. Just keep in mind that eventually their entire team is going to 15% her S3 and her S2, and if that costs you the win, then she screwed you over. Guild Wars defense, ooh, that's hard. A+. We'll give her an A+. I mean, borderline S. She is in a lot of Guild Wars defenses right now. Common things are like Conqueror Lilias, like APOC and Belian, or Rem and Landy, something along those lines. Because she does make her whole team tankier, she can speed contest, she puts up barriers, she does a lot of DPS with these dual attacks. So, you know, RNG is good for her, right? Like, Guild Wars defense is all about having a crazy RNG team that could screw attackers over. And with her dual attacks and stuff, like, it could work out pretty good. So Guild Wars defense, she's actually pretty great. RTA, she is an S squared cubed. She is just so broken. And, you know, you guys have to understand what I mean by broken, because people are going to be like, well, I beat ML Lilias a decent number of the time. She can't be that broken. Like, that's not what broken means. Like, I also consider APOC Ravi broken. I could beat APOC Ravi all the time. I've lost using APOC Ravi all the time. Yes, you're going to beat people with Conqueror Lilias. You're going to lose when you have Conqueror Lilias. But the point is, she's one of those heroes where there's no reason not to take her. At the Legend tier, I have to say minimum 60%, probably realistically like 70 to 80% of matches where both players are intending to play Standard, the pre-bans are always the same at the time of the recording of this video. First picker pre-bans Ran, and second picker pre-bans Conqueror Lilias. That's how much respect this hero gets. If you're second pick, you don't even want to risk the other guy taking it. And if you're first pick, you want to prevent Ran because he's the only thing that can really outspeed Lilias consistently and get your Lilias through. So first picker pretty much always wants to take it, and second picker pretty much always wants to deny it. That's testament to how annoying this hero is when there's other toxic stuff like Mediator Cowerick and APOC Ravi and Blind, all this other stuff in the game right now. It just goes to show you how much high-level players respect this hero. The Vigor, the fact that's undispellable and is both attack and defense buff, is crazy strong. The fact that she could provoke people on the opener and make them tankier through both Vigor and barriers is really strong. The fact that a lot of high-level players like playing aggro and you could trigger a dual attack from a random ally, and if you're playing aggro, it's probably a DPS, that's very strong. Pretty much everything about's really strong, and let's not forget the fact that she is crazy, crazy fast for someone with so much utility and, decent tankability. She is a warrior, so you can get pretty decent defensive stats on her. So in RTA, she's an absolute monster right now, to the extent where, we know Smilegate doesn't nerf stuff, but if they do decide to nerf anything, I have to imagine that this is pretty high on the docket. Again, I don't know if Smilegate will ever start nerfing things, but I have to say, if they did, this is probably the thing I think they should nerf the most right now. Just an absolutely strong hero, a very contested unit, and the funny thing is, as strong as she is, I very rarely see her in an actual match because no one wants to let her through because she's a pain in the ass. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this review of this broken ass hero. If you have her, congratulations. If you don't, maybe you'll get lucky and she'll get nerfed. But, anyways, thanks for watching. Till next time, boys. Peace out.